In this session, we will focus on the policy recommendations to support responsible research and innovation practices that were developed based on the experiences and insights from the GoNano-project. Nanotechnologies and nanomaterials have served as a test field for governance approaches to emerging technologies for over 15 years. Induced and fueled by both anticipation of new technological advances and the accompanying risk profiles and public concern, approaches such as responsible research and innovation, which we explained in a previous session, aims at redistributing responsibility among all relevant actors to better align their input to innovation processes. Co-creation as a concept and an approach is one potential approach to developing collaboration amongst diverse stakeholder groups, including lay publics, in evaluating, prioritizing, and developing research and innovation activities and policies. From the results and experiences of running the pilot co-creation process using the GoNano methodology, as well as a public consultation, we have put together policy recommendations for supporting the emergence of responsible research and innovation practices in 3 white papers. White paper 1 sets out why co-creation and responsiveness makes sense in nanotechnology and describes conceptual and empirical aspects of responsiveness of researchers and engineers in co-creation processes with a focus on nanotechnology. It mainly addresses researchers, engineers, and other stakeholders involved in the research system, like research funding or research institutions, including the organizational structures they are engaged with. White paper 2 provides a strategic focus regarding how to implement co-creation, considering research as well as the innovation ecosystem. It addresses industrial and business partners, research institutions, and policymakers who are active in and are influencing research and innovation processes. White paper 3 provides guidance on how to realize co-creation in the light of a gender and diversity perspective in order to better integrate these perspectives into nano-related research and innovation. The main addressees of these papers are process organizers and/or researchers in a position to put co-creation into practice. We will now briefly present each of the recommendations from the respective white papers. In order to support increased responsiveness of researchers and engineers to societal needs and values, we come with the following recommendations. 1. Enhance the potential for the recognition of opportunities. This can be done by designing a process where actors meet several times to allow for relationship building, increased mutual understanding, and recognition of opportunities to act. 2. Integration of interactional expertise. It takes careful planning to make meetings between researchers, stakeholders, business, and citizens productive. We recommend consulting experts with experience in designing such trajectories to maximize the outcome of a co-creation process. 3. Select appropriate engagement measures. Depending on the stage of a research project, different actors and different questions are open for productive engagement. It is important to carefully analyze what actors and what questions can be productively asked at what stages of the research and innovation value chain. 4. Ensure benefits for researchers. Co-creation and engagement is not the core business of researchers. Therefore, it is important to illustrate the benefits of co-creation to researchers, as well as creating incentives for researchers to engage with others on their research. 5. Building trust. Finally, the importance of trust and relationship building for a good co-creation process cannot be overestimated. Trust and understanding takes time, and co-creation processes should allow space for and nourish these aspects. In order to implement co-creation in the research and innovation ecosystem, we come with the following recommendations. 1. Identify needs and entry points for co-creation. For a good co-creation process to happen, the objective of the process, as well as the topic, needs to be clarified from the start. 2. Mapping the innovation context. When you are clear about your expectations and objectives with regards to the process, map the state-of-the-art research in the specific fields, the stakeholders in the research and innovation area and their interests, and contextual factors, like regulation, that need to be considered. 3. Showcase the benefits of co-creation. In order to get stakeholders whom you have identified as relevant on board, use case studies and best practice examples of how stakeholders have benefited from co-creation. These could, for example, be networking opportunities they otherwise would not likely encounter, better and more accepted products, improved market shares, or more socially robust decision making. 4. Implement a structured methodology. Reflect on your own requirements for co-creation beforehand and be aware of the variety of engagement practices available. Selecting a structured and suitable co-creation methodology for what you would like to achieve will make it easier. 5. Ensure understanding between societal actors, stakeholders, and researchers. Finding consensus on broad societal goals is usually rather easy. No one is against responsible innovation. However, the meanings of such terms may differ between actor groups, especially when their sectors rarely meet, as may be the case with wider publics and researchers or industries. Successful co-creation has to establish a respectful and trusting relationship between different actor groups, as well as shared understanding and language. 6. Restructuring the environment. Create a culture of co-creation. In order to create a culture of co-creation, it is necessary to rethink research practices, research funding, and incentive structures for research. Collaboration is essential for co-creation, and practices such as confidentiality, IP protection, and reward structures based on individual performance present structural obstacles for realizing a research and innovation culture that invites societal stakeholders and citizens into collaboration and deliberation on research and innovation. And lastly, balance co-creation and research and innovation objectives. Ideally, co-creation processes iteratively combine activities toward opening up and adding value to the research and innovation process. In order to integrate attention to gender and diversity in research and innovation practices and ecosystems, we come with the following recommendations. 1. Strengthen gender mainstreaming from the outset. Allow for flexibility in thinking and avoid stereotypes. Individual inputs and viewpoints that differ from the norm and the mainstream should be encouraged by sharing examples with the participants, like the diverse perceptions of risk, nano and religious beliefs, and reflecting with them on how diversity and gender play a role in the process. 2. Include diversity from the outset. Try to include as wide a range of perspectives and experiences as possible. Encouraging diversity in science, engineering, and other work contexts has been shown to create collectively smarter, more efficient, and more creative teams, and is therefore a profitable approach, even if diversity within groups remains small. 3. Adopt a strategic engagement and a two-way communication effort. Co-creation is a collaboration process. It is essential for collaboration between participants from different backgrounds and with varying degrees of insights on the topic at hand, like the topic of nanotechnologies, that they are facilitated to listen and ask questions on each other's perspectives. The organizer of a co-creation project should carefully program space for asking questions and listening to each other into the project design. 4. Visualize future applications in everyday life contexts. Especially when discussing the subject of nanotechnology, visualizing future applications in everyday life contexts may enhance debates. Because nanotechnology is inherently abstract, it is often difficult for lay people to imagine some aspects of it. Concrete examples help to ensure that lay people can converse about and discuss the issues with scientists, stakeholders, and other participants as equals. 5. Challenge implicit discrimination and gender issues. Visions of nanotechnologies include subtle assumptions regarding gender and diversity implications. However, visions, prejudices, and projections are highly subjective. Therefore, it is important to envisage the potential actors, their reactions, and their behaviors, and to challenge existing assumptions or stereotypes rather than reflect or encourage them. This policy advice is not only a specific best practice suggestions for nanotechnology processes, but also a key element of best practice in science and communication in general. Now we just went over the variety of policy recommendations that the GoNano-project found would support the emergence of responsible research and innovation practices.